Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day. Ledger is currently having a hardware wallet sale. Ledger Nano S's are currently up to 30% off while supplies last. Ledger is currently having a 50% off sale for their Ledger Nano X Everyday Carry Bundle, 30% off for other accessories, 10% off for their Ledger Family Pack X, 10% off for the Ledger Family Pack S Plus, and 10% off for their Ledger Backup Pack as well. While I do not work for Ledger, I am a Ledger affiliate and have an affiliate link in the description below for those of you who are interested. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Here's a blast from the past. This is a very, very old story. I heard this story years before I even got into the cryptocurrency space, and the fact that it's still it logically, when you hear the story, of course it's still actually going on, but it's a bit insane to think that it's been this long. Someone by the name of James Howells, it says a Bitcoin enthusiast who misplaced 7,500 Bitcoin in a South Wales landfill, is gearing up to take legal action against the local city council for barring his efforts to unearth the missing hard drive that he had from 2013. Let me explain. Some of you must know this legend. Some of you must. However, for those of you who do not, here's a very cautionary tale. For this is why I always say, and even as far as like the Ledger thing wasn't a part of it, I promise. It's more of a the phrase "don't keep all your eggs in one basket" is it's popular for a reason. It's not because like someone 100 years ago had eggs in a basket and they're like, "Oh my gosh, my eggs are gone." No, like you should never. This is why you have people tell you when you're investing, diversify. The idea even goes as far as like maybe, depending on your portfolio, you maybe don't want to have all your money in one coin. Maybe across several larger coins. If you are lucky enough to do so, as opposed to just investing in crypto, also invest in land or maybe property. If you're lucky enough to do so, maybe also invest in art and other you have to diversify in some sort of way. The news is and was an individual by the name of James Howells. I don't think I ever knew his names before. Basically, back in 2013, allegedly the news goes, I think he got a brand new computer. He had an old computer. He wasn't really using it. I think it was in the basement or something like that. He got a brand new computer, found his old one and chucked it out, threw it away. And then I think a couple days later, he was actually looking at the news or TV and he saw how high Bitcoin's price was. And he was like, did I have any Bitcoin? I must have had at least one. Found out, the legend goes, his computer had been mining Bitcoin and or he had mined a large amount of Bitcoin in the very beginning when it started. And it came out to 7,500 Bitcoin. At the time, this was, I believe, worth several $100,000. Now, that's enough to get anyone frenzied up, riled up to be like, hey, I need to go get this money back. But as time has gone on and this amount of Bitcoin, the price has increased, of course, this man wants his money back. The really weird portion of the story that I think a lot of people don't talk about as much, which is the realistic side. Once again, I watch a lot of documentaries. Many of them, should I be watching them? No, but I've watched landfill documentaries before because I want to know what's happening on our planet. I implore you to do the same. It doesn't take that long. We all have extra time. Don't sit here and lie and say you don't have an extra 30 minutes as part of your day. Watch a documentary. Learn what's happening on the planet that you live on. The way that nearly all landfills work is that, let's say it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon and they get a huge amount of garbage and it gets thrown into a pile. By 5 o'clock, there's already like 4 or 5 other piles on top of that pile. These aren't, tiny little, like there's tons, like literally tons, like the actual like volume metric worth of garbage piled on top of these other things. A lot of times they have machines that even come by and they squish them. They make them as flat and as thin as possible so that they can put more trash on top of it. The other trash that is beneath it ends up getting basically obliterated. You must have seen the videos on TikTok and or Instagram where they're showing like the hydraulic press and they're showing like, hey, look at this gummy bear. And they like, get squished all over the place. So they do it with baseball bats and computers, and even like some of them, they'll crash like cars. Cool. You get the general basic idea. Now, if that's what happens over the course of a 24-hour period, what do you think would happen to the garbage left at the bottom of a pile after the course of 365 days? That's what I mean when it comes to like the more realistic metrics of like what happens to this actual garbage. Now, this is something that happened back in 2013. You remember when the world was like lightly okay mentally? That was 10 years ago. That's 3,650 days worth of trash piled on top of all the other trash. Degradation happens naturally to all things. So the more we hear about this story that has been going on for, literally a decade at this point, the more bizarre that it becomes. But I would assume at this point, it has to be nearly an obsession. And I say that in the nicest way. And I assume that if any of us, me, you, us, collectively, if there was a machine, a computer part, a stuffed bear that had a Ledger Nano inside of it that contained a massive amount of money, we would probably also be doing anything that we could to try and get that back. However, this has flown back into the news, I guess, because of how bizarre of a circumstance that it actually is. The former IT professional, who is now 38, has been at odds with the Newport City Council for 10 years, rallying apparently, so the last time we heard about this was around 2 years ago. He now has 16 people who apparently are there to try and help him dig through all of this to retrieve the hard drive. When you watch a documentary, and I know 5 of you will, high five to you 5 who are actually going to watch a landfill documentary. Landfills aren't the size of your bedroom. Landfills aren't the size of the if you're in like a flat or like, the building that you live in. They're not the size of like your building. Landfills are massive. They're like 3 football fields huge. Like they are absolutely egregiously large. Imagine thousands of days worth of garbage. Like you cannot pinpoint where this garbage would be. It is impossible to do so. He now has 16 people to help him. The issue is that the Bitcoin that he lost is roughly valued at $194 million right now. That's the incentive. You can actually even find, I remember watching this on the news. Like I said, this came out before I even got into crypto. It was one of the news stories that was pushed out there to try and get people to be afraid of the market. Look how easily you can lose your crypto. This man lost a fortune. You don't want to be like him. Don't get into crypto. That kind of thing. $194 million is absolutely completely insane. I say this one more time as a friend. Make sure you do not have all your crypto in one place. I have a friend. I don't really talk to her that much anymore. She had all of her crypto on one exchange. Now I understand. We're accustomed to this world where we kind of have all of our money on one bank account. And I had to tell her to move it around, because when prices ended up going up in 2021, she was actually terrified that she had so much money on a crypto exchange. And then when she tried to take it off, they told her no, because she had to go through all the KYC, AML stuff, because the amount had risen so high, and it scared her enough to, the point is, if you are lucky enough out there to have 7,500 anything. It could be Bitcoin, it could be Ether, it could be XRP. Don't have it all in one spot. A Telegraph report reveals that James Howells is gearing up for a legal battle with the local city council in South Wales, which has denied his team permission to unearth a hard drive he suspects is buried beneath the landfill. Several years back, a hard drive laden with 7,500 Bitcoin, now valued at nearly $200 million, inadvertently found its way into a landfill. I don't have to go into the entire thing. I basically told you the entire story. This was quite popular news. The cryptocurrency space never, ever ceases to amaze me. The news that we just had, for those of you who recently missed it, was that apparently the XRP blockchain now does twice as many transactions as before, now does 3,400 transactions per second. This news of this guy was more popular than actual news that like affects the cryptocurrency market and a whole bunch of other things inside of it. So I can only hope that he gets access to the landfill and that he's able to find it. I think that would be the news of the century. If this man was able to find this hard drive, I have very little hope just because of basic logic. But I understand at that point, if you know that there's $200 million on a hard drive, think of weight. There are at least like 700,000 tons worth of garbage. If you stand on top of a laptop or even like one of those old, like remember like the old towers, like the computer towers, if you stand on one, you're going to crack it. If you have an immense amount of weight on top, it just doesn't seem completely feasible. But I would love nothing more than for this man to get $200 million richer and live out his best life. But that was the ever popular person lost a lot of Bitcoin and is trying to get it back news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in sure, why not? Apparently, they released an Ethereum phone. Okay. The pre-sale of the new Ethereum-based smartphone, there were only 50 of them made. So all 50 units snapped up within 24 hours. Each device is equipped with what they're calling, you know how like there's iOS, like the I operating system? They're calling it the ETH OS, or the ETH operating system. A unique operating system underpinned by smart contract technology. Dubbed the Ethereum Phone, I would have called it nothing else. This cutting-edge mobile is modeled after the Google Pixel 7a because I didn't expect them to actually have their own hardware. However, it is called the ETH OS, short for Ethereum operating system, that sets it apart. The term ethos, which is what the operating system would be, also translates to character in Greek, adding an extra layer of meaning. No, that simply just happened to be complete happenstance. I assume this is a photo of it. It looks like every other Android phone except for maybe extra steps. Are those buttons? So apparently this was launched and people were talking about it. It was lightly discussed. They compared it to the Solana phone, which I believe launched around 2 years ago now at this point. We're not even going to go into the entire Solana thing because I told all of you that a while ago. And shout out to those who actually listened when I was talking about the whole thing with Solana and FTX or what have you. So yeah, apparently there are now... So wait, I think it comes with NFTs. However, acquiring one of these phones was straightforward. Only 50 of the units were made. That's what it is. To be eligible, why so convoluted? To be able to buy one of these phones, you had to purchase an NFT that would allow you to buy the phone. And people began to make fake NFTs that were other people were buying in an effort to be able to buy this phone. Why make the extra step? Why make any type of possibility of people being scammed on OpenSea or anywhere to be able to have to buy this phone. Like, understand, like, first come, first served is definitely a thing. You could have simply been like, hey, the first 50 people who get, who buy it, they get it. Why make it so that someone would be able to go on to OpenSea and buy something that was fake and lose money to be able to... Anyway, the cryptocurrency space is and has always been very weird. I think a lot of it has to do, I believe that, after having been in this space for 9,000 years, it feels like a lot of it has to do with clout, kind of. To be able to say that you have an NFT that there's only 50 of, and then buying a phone that there's only 50 of is spectacular, wonderful. These things aren't going to take off. That's a huge portion of the issue. These phones are made, I think, to be able to say that a phone was made. And so 10 years down the line, you're like, yeah, I have one of the first ones. But we have normal phones already. You are completely capable of having an app or something on, especially on Android phones, because Apple phones are very locked as to what you can and can't do. That would allow you to support a blockchain, to be able to be a node, to be able to be a validator. But they create these phones just to, like, I think to see, like, if the market wants them, the market doesn't want them. Because a lot of these phones end up being launched and they cost a lot of money. I think years ago there was a, this was before the Solana phone. There was another blockchain-based cryptocurrency phone that launched, and I think it was like $4,000. And I was like, why? Why would anyone pay that? Of course it failed. No one wants the Solana phone, and nobody wants the Ethereum phone either. It just doesn't... Anyway, cool. So an Ethereum phone launched. There were only 50 made. A lot of people were buying. You had to buy an NFT to be able to buy the phone. And people were buying fake NFTs because why would you make an extra step? Apparently, that's the phone. It looks like, I'm certain. It looks like an Android phone that was just repurposed and has like a new operating system on top of it. Cool. I would say I hope we don't see any more of these, but you know that we are. These probably won't end up taking off for another 10 to 15 years. And even then, I assume the phones that we have will be like contact lenses, or like we'll be able to tap for those of you who have glasses, tap the side of your glasses, and we have like, so people won't be even using these physical phones anymore. That's the Ethereum smartphone. Wow, I can't wait to get one. It looks so fascinating and expensive. And yeah, let's move on. In news that I think was supposed to shock the world, news, in a strategic move to bolster their market presence, USDC coin, or Coinbase coin, has been natively launched on both Base and Optimism networks. Base, for those of you who don't know, being Coinbase's blockchain. The announcement came on the 5th of September, marking a significant milestone for Circle, the company behind USDC, seeking to regain market share lost to to only one competitor, and they are named Tether. For those of you who've been missing the information on the really weird stablecoin saga that we've been going through over the course of the last couple of months at this point, Binance announced a while ago that they were going to be stopping support for all other stablecoins except for Tether on their platform, because they basically wanted all the money to flow through Binance's stablecoin. Their business, it makes sense. Coinbase said the exact same thing, that they would be stopping support for a number of other coins on their platform because they wanted to streamline and make things easier for the user experience. No, they just wanted to make sure that they had extra money flowing through Coinbase's systems. Coinbase then created Base, which is short for Coinbase. It's their terrible name, which is their blockchain that they use. And we got so much news about it when it first launched. There were 200,000 projects on it. There were this many coins, and this was happening. And there were all these scams that were taking place. And Coinbase was like, guess what? We're not going to do anything about the scams because our chain is decentralized. And everyone was like, yeah, let the scams live. You're decentralized. And that kept on going on. The issue is that Coinbase has been trying to make Circle Coin a thing for a number of years. Coinbase and Circle created Coinbase coin, USDC, a number of years ago, 3-4 years ago. I'm not sure the exact time frame. It doesn't really matter. And they have been pushing it as an alternative to other stable coins and like the most regulated one on the market that you could ever use. It's absolutely great and amazing, but nobody wants to use it because it doesn't have as much liquidity as Tether. Tether being the company who came out of nowhere and created a stable coin before people even realized that stable coins could be created, and has basically taken nearly the entirety of the world's market share because they're Tether. They did it first. They figured out what they had to do. They're strong and stable and everyone likes them. They've been using them for a while, regardless of how many companies and or news publications have been talking lies and nonsense about Tether for the last like 5 or 6 years at this point. Is absolutely ridiculous. So the news that, now hear me out here, Coinbase created a blockchain called Base, and they're launching their token on Base. This was supposed to have been like revolutionary news. For some odd reason, Coinbase keeps pretending like they didn't have a hand in making this token, and it's usually attributed to Circle, which is absolute nonsense because I showed you the article. There's an article from 2017 or 2018. You can find it. It says Coinbase and Circle join hands in collaboration to create a stablecoin. It's the most common news out there, but every time that the news ends up being out there, it's always pushed as Circle has the opportunity to now work with Coinbase. And guess what they're doing on the blockchain that Coinbase created? Yeah, they're putting the coin that they both created on top of their blockchain. See how weird it is? I assume that Tether will be a driving force for a very long time. I think it's very sad as well when you really look back at all the news, all the negative news that we got about Tether. I still question who was putting out that news. There were many news publications, I told you that before, who were putting out that news. I assume these news publications were probably working with higher up companies who were also trying to make their own stable coins. And therefore, the easiest way to do it is by defaming or defamation against Tether. But Tether has persisted. So nobody wants to use Coinbase's coin. Very, very few people actually even use Binance's stable coin. It's popular, but not as popular as Tether is. So cool. I assume a large part of the prerequisites for a number of larger companies who want to do business with Coinbase is that they probably have to build on top of Base. And this is why I think we heard such a huge amount of news early on. And look at all these companies who are working on our chain. It's like, okay, cool. It always has to do with money behind the scenes. It always is a mutual understanding of mutual money making. And I assume part of that also has to do with the idea that these companies would then also be, I don't want to use the word forced, but lightly pushed in the direction of having to use the Coinbase coin as they're using it on top of Coinbase's blockchain. So cool. Good job, Tether, on like being like actually resilient. It's Tether, Ripple, and I'll even lightly throw in Ethereum into that conversation as cryptocurrency projects that people, excuse my French, pooped all over for a number of years, calling them terrible. And the amount of resilience that these companies have had is absolutely staggering. So cool. Coinbase put their coin on top of their blockchain because that's just what one does. And yeah. Let's move on. In news that actually shocked me, because most times that we get news about people caring for other people, it never makes it into the actual cryptocurrency news space. B Trust, the letter B, like with the Bitcoin symbol, and then the word trust, a nonprofit organization funded by Jack Dorsey. The final boss. Jack Dorsey, for those of you who don't know, he's the creator of Twitter. He is the final boss. He is the Bitcoin maximalist. Like the highest of the high on the planet. It says, and now a Bitcoin advocate. That is an understatement. Is expanding their program into Africa through a new acquisition. This nonprofit organization has acquired an organization called Kala, Q-A-L-A, Kuala, but there's no U there. I say Kala, which focuses on educating Bitcoin and Lightning engineers within Africa. For those of you who do not know or simply were not here on those multiple days when we were talking about this, one of the ideas, and this is why I lightly tip my hat in Jack Dorsey's direction. For those of you who don't know the purpose of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, it goes far, no, just Bitcoin. It goes far beyond you being able to make a lot of money and bragging to your friend that they did not get into the cryptocurrency market when they could. It has to be with about an economic system that is open for everyone on the planet to use at the exact same time. The current economic system that we are living in, when you tap your card, swipe your card, when you tap your watch, or when you use your palm to pay for things like in Nordic countries, has to do with the old economic system. It empowers those who are already powerful and already have tons of money. The idea of Bitcoin being created has to do with allowing the billions of other people on the planet who are not attached to and are not privileged enough to be a part of this economic system that we are part of, allowing them a way to be into an economic system that isn't connected to the old system. That's why every single time that we keep hearing that these rich people keep getting into the market, I lightly make sure to tell you, hey, Bitcoin's not for them. Try to make sure that you remember that Bitcoin is for you and not for them, if you catch my drift. This has to do with the idea that, and this was very popular back in 2015, 2016. This is what got me into the cryptocurrency space because I like helping people. The idea is that, and I've said that phrase like 12 times. The idea is that Bitcoin is for everyone. And if you make sure that people in economic areas who have been excluded from the current economic system that we have get into crypto beforehand, these nations can then become rich and finally join into the economic system or an economic system that they were, excluded from before. You might have heard many times that Jack Dorsey, the guy from Cardano, Hoskinson, and a couple of other people who are more quiet now in the cryptocurrency space believe that the actual adoption, the mega adoption of cryptocurrencies is going to come from Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Why? Because these are the parts of the world that was excluded from the current economic system. Of course, there are people in Africa and Latin America and Southeast Asia who have debit cards and credit cards and Visa and MasterCards. I'm talking about people who are poor. Banks do not like poor people. You know what Bitcoin does love? Everyone. That sounds a bit crazy, but you understand what I'm trying to say. So one of the more popular ideas from Jack Dorsey and a number of other people is that if you move into these countries, into these continents, into these worlds, and you basically let them understand what Bitcoin is, you teach them how to code, you teach them what Lightning is, the learning curve that they would have had to go through in 10 to 20 years is already gone. They already understand what it is. If you've ever watched a documentary on the adoption of Bitcoin within El Salvador, it's very fascinating. If you look at from the first documentaries that were out there, like the week that it happened, a lot of the people who were selling stuff on the streets, they were like, I don't know what this is. And now they're talking to these people years later. And I mean like even grandmas, these people who are like in their 60s and 70s, who they open their phone and like they're using Lightning. They know how to like tap their phone to pay for things. Like they understand what Lightning is. They understand what a transaction fee is. Like it's a very, very interesting thing. So this is why this news of there's so many companies moving into Africa and Latin America and Southeast Asia, it's because there's literally 3 to 4 billion people on the planet. 3 to 4 billion people on the planet who have been excluded from the current economic system that we have. If you can get 4 billion people to understand Bitcoin, to use Bitcoin and to buy Bitcoin, we enter into a new economic worldwide utopia. Why? Because I heard someone say why? Because the entire system is meant for everyone and not just the rich. This is the problem with the current system that we have. It is built for the rich, by the rich. This is why whenever they do something and I use the word heavily, illegal, they don't get in trouble because it's their system. The acquisition will assist B-Trust in its mission to promote the development and education of Bitcoin's open source engineers worldwide. According to a joint statement by the two organizations, the transaction was completed on the beginning of September, and Kala will be rebranded as the B-Trust Builders Program. Founded in 2021, Kala worked to match African software developers with global Bitcoin companies and help them acquire the skills that they need. According to the announcement, Kala formed one of the largest online Bitcoin communities, covering more than 42 different countries. Graduates of the program found jobs at firms such as Galoy, a Bitcoin native banking platform, Lightning-based network messaging apps, Sphinx Chat, and peer-to-peer bit platform. Wow, that is a terrible name. Bitnob. That is Bitnob. In addition to receiving open source grants from B-Trust and Super Lunar. Yeah, this was lightly popular news. Whenever Jack Dorsey is anytime Jack Dorsey is in any kind of Bitcoin news, it ends up being popular. But I was surprised that this news had to do with helping people. And usually, historically, a lot of news that we get in the cryptocurrency space about people helping other people tends to not be that popular. Yeah. Cool. I like it. I hope it continues. I hope people around the world continue to understand what Bitcoin is. Because if we get to a point where Bitcoin goes to $1 million, I want the billions of people around the world who aren't mega millionaire billionaires to profit from it. Why should the rich once again only be the ones who profit from this new system? Yeah, I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See